Welcome to the Stay Ready Real Estate Podcast, where we stay ready so you don't have to get ready. I'm your host, Emeka. And what this podcast is all about is letting you know that regular people like you and me can invest in real estate to become wealthy. You don't need millions and billions of dollars to invest in real estate. You can actually invest in real estate with little to no money down. I'm just here to let you know that as long as you have time and can take action, you can become wealthy. And all it takes is a couple of years for you to honestly become financially free. So tune in. Hope you enjoy. What's going on? It's your boy Emeka here. And today, what we're going to talk about, which I just had a very lengthy conversation with someone about this, is not investing in short term rentals unless you know these three things. And I argue that these are the most important things that everyone should know. And it's actually one of the reasons why I don't invest in short term rentals anymore. Number one, it is not passive. It's not passive at all, period. It is a very active investment. And a lot of people I know who are getting into real estate are getting into real estate for residual income, for passive income. And it's never really truly going to be passive. So when it comes to real estate and short-term rental real estate specifically, you have to furnish the place. You have to always make sure that someone's going to come in and clean it after someone leaves. You have to make sure it's priced right. You have to make sure that you're keeping up with reviews. You have to make sure that if someone gives you a review, whether it's public or private, you take that in consideration, and you should respond to 100% of all reviews. And not only when you take their review into consideration, you have to act on their review if they tell you to do an action item, especially if it's going to help you make more money. So the list kind of continues to go on and on and on, but it's never going to be passive for you. Short-term rental is going to be a active endeavor, and you're going to be focusing on it a couple hours a week, typically, depending on how you're leveraging the days that you want to rent it out to someone. There are different ways to make it less active, especially if you have a longer term rental. Let's say it's a short term rental, but you only lease it for a minimum of 30 days. That can help alleviate some of the activeness that's a part of it. But at the end of the day, you still need to make sure it's going to be well stocked on certain things. You also need to have the proper amount of toilet paper. You also need to have the proper amount of, paper towels, regular towels. And those towels need to get cleaned somewhere. So not every short-term rental has a washer and dryer. If you want to be competitive, you better have a washer and dryer. But then you need to take those every turn, you gotta wash the sheets, wash the pillows. After a certain amount of time, you have to replace those things. So these are always things that you're gonna have to do. And even though you might not have to replace it every time someone turns it, there needs to be someone to clean it. So it is a very, very active endeavor. And I'm not just telling you that based off my conversation earlier. I'm telling you this because I did an Airbnb for roughly about a year. And even though I was able to make it systematize it, it was still active, still active, still active. I had the systems. I had a price, I believe it's called price optimization, where it helped basically tells me what price I should list my Airbnb at due to the time of the year it is, due to the amount of demand there is currently. Like there were so many different things it did for me where I didn't have to think. You also need to analyze your competitors. The price optimization app did that for me. As well as you need to not only find a cleaner, but your cleaner needs to be linked up with your calendar. And there's apps for that. I think it's called Turnover Airbnb. So there's apps for that, but you still have to trust them. You have to work with them and understand that they're not always going to be available for you. So what does that mean? That means you need to have a couple of, I said nurses, you have a couple of cleaners. And typically speaking, if they're doing this, sometimes they're doing it full time. So they have a bunch of people that they do it for, and it won't always link up with your calendar. If you find a good one, pay more for it and make them full time if your Airbnb is doing that well. So it will never, ever, ever truly be passive. And if you want it to be passive and hire a co-host, here's my second point. Being more passive in the Airbnb / short-term rental means you sacrifice your margins. Period. Point blank. Because you're going to need to pay somebody to do it. And even if you're paying a co-host, paying a Airbnb property manager, I like to call it, you still have to watch them. You still have to make sure they're doing what they're doing. I had one. I sacrificed 20% of my money, my gross profit. It sucked. They were making a lot of money. They were doing like they were it was well deserving. I was able to basically sit back and relax and do 90% less of what I was doing before. But at the end of it, I was still having to check on a monthly basis what my income was. Once I realized that I was barely covering my expenses, 20%, it was 20% of the expenses was going directly to my co-host. So even though I didn't need to worry about the pricing, I have to worry about the turnover, I didn't have to worry about connecting with the cleaners, I still had to worry about, okay, right, it's costing me this much, here are my expenses, where could I cut? Now I'm having conversations every month with my co-host. What can we do to make more money? What can we do to minimize the amount of money that's coming out? My expenses outside of the 20% that he's taking. And maybe I shouldn't have paid him 20%. But he was good, quite frankly. He was good. Shout out to Bailey. But it was never ever active. And when they became more passive, I was still active, but I was losing money. Right? And that's just the way it worked. And I had a 2.99% interest rate on my house. So it was just the way it was working. And then if I want to find somebody else, I have to spend the time to find and vet that person. And yes, there is a chance it could have been well worth spending, however many days, hours, or months trying to find the right co-host. I didn't want to do it. I'm in real estate for peace of mind. I'm in real estate for residual income in whatever way I need to do it. And there's no such thing as truly passive, but there is a such thing as one investment strategy in real estate being a lot more passive than the other. And short term, I would argue, is one of the highest and most active ways to get into real estate. Or excuse me, it's one of the most active ways to, get into real estate and make your money monthly. And that's something that you have to put in your brain because it is oh so true. And the third reason is you must have a backup plan, right? A lot of people who have a short-term rental, they focus on those numbers. You can make a lot of money, you can make a lot of gross profit, but the city can completely shut your stuff down completely. I'm seeing it right now in St. Petersburg, Florida. It's just the way it works. If a city doesn't want a bunch of different randoms coming into different homes, disturbing neighbors, then they can just completely change the rules and they can fine you. I think I've heard somewhere where they're fining, up to, $200 to $500 a day. And it's easy to find. They can just go on Airbnb themselves. If they say the rule is you have to be a minimum of 30-day stay, they can just go on Airbnb and look. Can I stay in this house for a couple of days? If it says yes, boom, I can find them. It's not that hard. And there's different programs, different systems, software that I'm sure these cities are using in order to make sure that you are doing what they want you to do. They have all the power, period. So you shouldn't be getting in unless you know those three things. And that third thing is one of the most crucial elements and one of the most crucial things that can completely destroy everything that you had planned to make money. Because if your deal only worked as a short-term rental because regular market rents don't cover your basis or you have negative cash flow, what's the point of getting into a deal if you're not making money? So you must have a backup plan because the city can halt your Airbnb ASAP. If it doesn't work as a long-term rental, that's usually, I would say, the bare minimum. You shouldn't be doing it. So you should not buy a short-term rental. You should not buy an Airbnb. You should buy a long-term rental with the idea of it being a short-term rental as a main plan. If it doesn't work as a long-term rental, do not buy it, period. If you can't sell it for a profit, second guess everything that you're doing. There's a hierarchy to the way I do things when it comes to real estate investment. I do flips. The flip has to work as a rental. If it can't work as a rental, it has to work as a pad split, and so forth and so forth. If I can't refi out of this flip and make money or pay a partner out, then I don't want it, right? You have to stress test these deals. And one of the biggest things I know that people, one of the biggest things I know is a lot of people are getting into real estate for passive income. Cut it right now. There is no such thing as passive unless you're really a limited partner. And most people aren't getting into real estate to be a limited partner. Most people who are limited partners have money already and they're well established, typically speaking. What is a limited partner? A limited partner is someone who basically invests into a deal and has zero say about that deal. They can ask questions, but they have zero say. So basically, whenever you give them your money, think of it like a stock. You put your money in, and then you have no control. But the difference with the stock is you can take your money out, you can sell the stock. If you're investing as a limited partner into a real estate deal, there's not really much you can do. So what I want you to understand here is short-term rentals can be good, but most people don't understand that it is a very active endeavor, and you should not be getting into it unless you understand those three things. It's a very active endeavor, and it will never truly be passive. If you want it, number two, if you want it to be passive, you have to sacrifice your margins. And a lot of times it seems not to be worth it unless you maybe own your house outright. And number three, you must have a backup plan, because the city, the county, potentially even the state can completely shut that bleep down. Hope you enjoyed the podcast. Hope I was able to help you out and understand what it takes to run an Airbnb. Let me know what you think. Until next time, team. See ya. Thanks for tuning into the podcast. I really hope you enjoyed. My goal with these podcasts is to help you get 1% better every single day. And if you enjoyed, please like and subscribe and go to my YouTube channel, because I post real life deals and the ongoing things that I'm doing to let you know that I'm walking the talk and not just talking about it, not just yapping. So hope to see you next week. Till next time.